So, we were talking because, and you can edit this out if you need to, give you the disclaimer before, if not, whatever. But with Electric Ladyland closing, which is extremely
unfortunate.
There has been a lot of controversy. I'm here to set the record straight.
Yes, as it may. But we just want to, really, Chuck and I were asking you questions, and you've been wanting to kind of have more of interview stuff for your podcast and your YouTube channel. So,
of course,
you even brought up that it would be cool to maybe talk to you about it, just to kind of know what happened at the beginning, how you got Electric Ladyland, because that wasn't the very beginning of your career.
No, I worked. I worked for. I got Electric Ladyland because I knew Ernie. And I was friends with Ernie. And I met Ernie when we both worked for Jackie, and that was in probably maybe 92 or 93, something like that.
You'd already been tattooing 3 or 4 years.
I had been tattooing since, 1990. Okay. So I left Daytona, went down to left Luz, and ended up in New Orleans working for Jackie. So I'm there a couple years, and Ernie and Lynn came into town, and there wasn't many shops to work at. If you were working in New Orleans, that was it. It was
Jackie's.
And Jackie did like the fact that he was an older guy. He was more reliable and mature and could handle himself. Because I think at the time it was me and Henry, who was 17, and Freddie was there, and he was maybe 15 or 16, but they were both good tattooers. But, she liked having somebody a little older in there. Yeah. Ed might have been working there then. I'm not sure if he came later or not. But so Ernie was there, and he was doing traditional tattoos. And when I was working for Jackie, she liked fine line, single needle tattoos. Okay. We made our own single needles and tattooed with those, and we colored with 6 flats because they were easier to make than the mags. So so Ernie came along, and he's lining with 7s, loose 7s, and sometimes 14s. And Jackie,
for back then.
That was blowing her mind. Well, when I learned, we made 14s as shaders. That's how Cindy taught me.
Yeah.
And we always wondered why color won't go in solid no matter what you did. It would, especially blue or purple. It's not going to be solid no matter what you did. So Ernie and Jackie kind of clashed about that a little bit. She liked the fine line, more artistic style. She really liked Ed Hardy's style a lot, and wanted tattoos kind of like that style.
A little more artsy.
Yeah, and Ernie was more like a clunky traditional, great folk artist, did the great signs everybody knows and wants, and he could pinstripe like a motherfucker. And they just couldn't get along. So Ernie was he left, and he went down to Chalmette, Louisiana, which is 2 towns down south as the river flows in Louisiana, there in New Orleans area. So he was 2 towns away, and he opened on the 2nd floor. He had bought. No, he opened that shop. That's right. And I don't think there were any other shops in Chalmette at the time. So he had to go through all that with the parish there and stuff. But he got it open. It was a great shop. It was beautiful, and it was a lot of fun. It looked like it was set up like a carnival, like how Ernie set stuff up. So he had signs everywhere. And I think he painted signs when they weren't tattooing. In the lobby, he would just set up and paint signs. Yeah. And, it really was. And Lynn and Ramon worked there. I think a guy named Ryan worked there later on. He eventually ended up buying that shop. So
what was the name of the shop?
That was Electric Ladyland.
So that was the first Electric Ladyland
tattoo shop. Yes.
Shop.
Yes. Okay. that we all know of. There could have been some little town somewhere that had one, but there wasn't a name that anybody had ever heard as a tattoo shop.
Yeah.
But the Electric LadyLand that we've come to know of as today's Electric LadyLand, that's where it started.
That's where it started. And Lynn, Ernie's wife, is from Seattle. So she always loved that name. Didn't necessarily love Jimi Hendrix or his music or anything. You know, everybody appreciates it for what it is and stuff. But just loved the name, and she was an electric lady too. She had, was tattooed around all of her neck and had fire red hair and dressed really cool. At the time, rockabilly was really in, so she always wore cool dresses and shoes. She always really looked good, and her and Ernie always drove old cars. He had this old Ranchero that I think it was purple or it was magenta, like Pepto Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol, yeah.
Pink.
Pepto-Bismol pink.
And he pinstriped the living shit out of that. And I think it had the El Dorado kit on it too. I mean, it was as pimp as you could get. It had the spare tire thing and the floorboards. And man, that's just how they lived. And at the time, in the early 90s, that was probably pre-95. They probably opened that shop around 95, 96, something like that. No, it was early 94, something like that. So they were down there, and they were doing their thing. They started doing $20 names. Because Ernie was a sign painter. He was a name guy. That was his specialty. And he did beautiful names. And he put the little bling blings with it. And everybody that worked in that shop kind of did the same style name, kind of the sign lettering style. So Jackie got mad. And she's like, well, I'm doing $20 names too every Tuesday. So she had a shop in Araby. No, it was still New Orleans. So New Orleans, Araby, and then Chalmette. But she was almost to Araby, so she was kind of close to Ernie. And I think her bank was down there.
Walmart in Araby?
Yeah, there is a Walmart.
So
yeah,
I think that's one there.
If it's not Araby, it is Chalmette. I'm not sure if you cross the line. But as you're leaving,
it's out of New Orleans proper.
As you leave in New Orleans and you're going south, you come to Araby first. It's a little town, and then Chalmette is bigger and goes further down south. And there was a lot of real famous battles from the Revolution there, and a lot of songs written about that area. Pretty fucking cool, It's a cool place to be, and.
So they started doing names.
Yes, $20 names, and Jackie was like, "I'm doing them too," because her names were beautiful. Not that I'm not discounting Ernie's names, but Jackie always did something that was more artistically beautiful, like flourishing and.
For a tattoo, less for a sign.
Yeah, and she liked to make them pretty. Yeah, and she liked to make them pretty, especially if a girl was getting it. And something she taught me is if a girl is getting a name tattoo, do it with a single needle with a single stroke. Single stroke, you can cover it up really easy. And if you're doing a guy, he's a bigger guy, you don't want to use a 12. No, but you can use like a 3 or 5 if it needed to be a little bolder, But you're not so worried about the dudes having to get something big and black or a big, panther that big. And, girls, you could cover up a name with a rose like that big,
It was done smaller.
Exactly. So we were thinking ahead. So, so Ernie was down there, and I was still working for Jackie, but it was coming to an end. My time was just coming to an end, and I had to go. So I had some friends, and
when was this?
This was in '94, early '94.
So you were leaving in '94.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I started thinking about it. Maybe after Mardi Gras or after Jazz Fest or something like that. I had some friends. I had a friend in Jacksonville, Amber, and Jody was living in Jackson, Mississippi. I think it was Jackson, and wanted to get the hell out of there. And he was working in a shop that was busy but not that great. And there wasn't that many shops then, so most shops were fairly busy. And we all three kind of weren't real happy where we were. And Amber had just moved from Jacksonville to Tampa with her boyfriend, Wayne, Freckle Wayne. You remember him, Wayne Bernard?
I don't know him, but I know of him.
Okay, well, he was from Daytona, too. So there was a crew of us from Daytona. And Mike Wilson and Freckle Wayne and Amber and John Himmelstein and some other people like that.
Him talking.
He was just on Insta.
Yeah.
Go see that if you can. John Himmelstein, yeah. He's amazing.
I started watching that, and it is his style is just wild.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Being from out there.
So early tattooing Daytona at Cindy's shop, Atlantic, was all of those, was kind of all of us a little in and out of there. So, well, where were we then?
94, you were leaving.
Yes, thank you. See, I need you guys. Thanks. So we decided we were going to Tampa. So I gave Jackie like 4 or 6 weeks notice, and I saved up all my money, and I told everybody I was leaving. So I got kind of busy. I saved a lot of money, packed up my shit, and I moved to Tampa. I got an apartment down there, and Amber moved there with a couple other friends, and we opened that shop on a shoestring. And Jason Klein was there, and
this shop was?
This was Blue Devil in Tampa, and it's now the oldest shop in Tampa.
Yep.
So it's still there. It's same name. It's back in its original location. So we had moved out. We had a crappy landlord that kept threatening to throw us out. I was like, I was tired of threats. So we rented another place up the street. And then that place, something happened with that lease. They moved across the street. A guy that used to work for me, Skip, I heard, bought that back from the guy I sold it to, and then took it back to the original location. I don't know if he's still got the same landlords. I don't know if they still suck. I don't know if they woke up. I don't know what happened there. I know it's the oldest shop. It's back in the original location.
That's cool.
So yeah. So
open that shop.
You opened Blue Devil.
So I'm in Blue Devil tattooing. Life is good. I'm happy. Tampa was so good to me. I did not like Tampa, but it was very, very good to me. And made a lot of things happen, made a lot of money there, made some friends, some lifelong friends. And I got a call one day from Ernie, and he said that him and Lynn had enough of New Orleans. They were sick of New Orleans. And I had heard, now this is their story, but I'm going to tell it, what I heard from somebody else even.
Who knows if it's the truth?
I think it is, but Lynn was getting ready for work one day in her apartment. They lived uptown, and it was an upstairs apartment, and the power went off. And it was middle of the day. She goes downstairs. You got to go outside to where the power box is and she flipped it back on, and like, that's weird, it's off. Went back upstairs, happened again a few minutes later, whatever. She went back downstairs, and she got robbed. Now, I don't know if it was downstairs, outside, if it was maybe in a room, like the apartment building had like a utility room or something like that. She didn't get hurt, I don't think, but, I wouldn't want to be robbed.
Rob the house?
They did not rob the house. She said, I'm fucking getting ready for work. I don't have money on. You think I got money on me? She got out of there, and I don't know what happened after that. That's their story. But that happened, and then I don't know, before or after, they were leaving the Winn-Dixie on Chapatoulas uptown. I don't know if you know where that is. It's up near Tipitina's up there. I think you can see it from the parking lot. And they're coming out of there, and there's a bunch of little kids, and they're probably 12, 13-year-old little thug kids, and they didn't get out of the way fast enough, or Ernie was in their way, something, again, this is their story, something happened, and they threatened to pop a cap in Ernie's old ass. And Lynn did not like that, and that Uptown's a dangerous part of the city to live in.
Especially at that time.
That time was terrible in the early 90s.
Is that where the shop was?
The shop was further uptown,
and moved later.
It was closer to mid-city.
Okay, but that's where it moved to later on.
We moved downtown later.
Okay.
But when they opened, no, they did live uptown, but I skipped ahead, didn't I?
No, that's what I'm saying.
No.
So they had the downtown shop. They had the Chalmette shop.
Yeah, Chalmette.
And Lynn wanted to always be in New Orleans. Who wouldn't? But the laws in New Orleans were really weird. And Jackie was grandfathered, and Jackie was the only shop in town. But Lynn and Ernie, somehow, they rented a building, and they built the tattoo shop, and somehow the city denied them a permit. And they sued. I'm not sure if they sued or they threatened to sue. Something happened. They got the permit. Well, so after they got the permit, there was this guy, Henri, who was a fucking dirtball and went right behind them and opened less than a mile away from them. Could have opened anywhere else.
What was that show?
That was Electric Expressions.
I thought so.
Ugh, whatever. You don't do that kind of shit, Come on, don't. If you're gonna open on somebody, go across town.
Or two towns over, like Ernie.
That would be even better. But to let somebody else fight the fight and then move in.
Classic French move.
Thank you. Anyway, that guy's still around. He's probably gonna watch this. Nothing personal. I know. People say business is business.
Sorry, Henry.
Business is, I didn't have a choice, but you know what? You do have a choice, because there's a building over there and there's a building over there, but you picked that one. That's the wrong choice. You could have picked that one or none. You could have stayed where you are. You already had a shop.
Right.
Oops.
People make decisions, and they don't say, I made the decision. They say, I had no choice. Anyway, that's my problem with that.
So, Chalmette to the new shop, right, in New Orleans.
So, Ernie and them got that new shop open, and then after they got that open, that's when that robbery, that's when that happened.
Yes.
And they had enough. They'd been there about 9 or 10 months uptown.
Okay.
It was kind of slow going, opening up there, too, because the neighborhood was called Girt Town or Pigeon Town. It was kind of right in between those. It was on Earhart Expressway, that is like an expressway that goes out to Airline Highway to the airport. So if you're in New Orleans, you want to get to the airport, not on the interstate, and so you're kind of just going out there. It was a neighborhood of older people, like working class older people. They did have kids that would live with them, and the kids sometimes were kind of thuggish or young and partying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the building was right next to a car detail place on one side, and there was a florist and then a nail salon on the other side. So it was a great location. It was perfect.
Great location.
Yeah, I'll keep talking. Y'all can get it. So they opened, and Ernie collected all kinds of stuff. So he immediately filled the shop, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. It's what New Orleans needed. New Orleans needed something like that, because it is an older town. It needed
a fresh,
kind of older, fresh face that was doing kind of more traditional, more classic stuff. Nothing against what Jackie was doing. Her stuff was fantastic. She was doing New Orleans style. She was making New Orleans style stuff. Yeah. But if that's your only option, people wanted other stuff.
Yeah.
So Ernie, he was offering that, and his wife Lynn did great traditional tattoos. They hired Bobby Love. I almost said Buddy Love. Bobby Love, great fucking tattooer. They had him. They had Scott Harrison there for a bit. Okay. They had Dre, who now owns tattoo shops in Atlanta. He's got big shops there. And I can't remember who else worked there at that time, but they opened that shop, and it had so much potential. And out of the blue, Ernie calls me and says, Lynn got robbed.
We're out of here.
We're done. And he wanted me to come do a guest spot. I wanted to do a guest spot before I said yes to anything.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking not a lot of money, but a pretty good chunk of money. I'm not, I hadn't even seen the shop. I knew the Chalmette shop, but I didn't know this other shop. So they're going to go to Seattle for 2 weeks. So I'm going to come and stay in their apartment, take care of their little chihuahuas, and work the shop for them. So I go and I work, and it was great. And I could see people were hungry, in that area. It was
wanted to get tattoos.
They did. They wanted tattoos, and they were reasonably priced. The minimum was $30. You could get a name for $30. So just about anybody could get $30 and come get tattooed. If you had 60, you could get a name and a design.
Right.
For 100, you could get a cool panther. It was good price, and we were right across from the only drive-through Popeye that wasn't in New Orleans. They had one in the 9th Ward, and then they had that other one. Those were the only two in the whole city. So people went there, and you could hear the intercom from the shop.
Wow.
So people would be in line, and they'd look over and see us,
See the tat shop.
and they'd eat their chicken and come over and get tattooed and stuff. Mm-hmm. And waiting to get their car detailed. The guys waiting for the old ladies to get their nails done. It really, I could see it was going to be a lot of potential there. So,
so you went for a guest spot.
Yes.
What year was this?
I think that was 94. I think that was.
Well, it had to be a little.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. That was 96. That was 96.
96. Okay.
Yeah, 94. I left New Orleans.
Yes.
I had been in Tampa 2 years. 96 is when Ernie called. I went and I did 2 weeks there. I took care of the dogs. I had a great time. I stayed in his house. He had this Elvis lamp. You ever seen one of those? It's the lamp, and the base is actually a head of Elvis.
Whoa.
And he's in one of the costumes that has the high collar, and he's got the big pompadour. It's old Elvis. He's like kind of ghoulish looking,
right.
But it's right next to his bed, and I would wake up and see that thing. Oh my God! You'll never forget that shit. And I made my first I just learned how to watercolor, and I made my first big painting there while I was working there in between, or at night or something. I was doing it at the house. And so fast forward to last year, 2005, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Ernie's got the contents of all his shop. 2025, sorry. I'm 20 years off. 2025. 2025.
Yes.
Not 2005. God damn. That's a good dab. Anyway, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So I see Ernie at the Winston-Salem Historic meetup that the Historic Society does every year.
Yep.
They get a bunch of old people that sell stuff, and museum people. We all get together and sell and trade a lot of things. So Ernie's got all the stuff he's ever collected there. Tons of flash. I look over and I see that painting I made in his apartment that year.
Wow.
Must have been 96.
96.
And I picked it up. I said, how much for this, Ernie? And he was like, $500. Ernie, I painted this fucking thing.
It was okay, 6.
Yeah, right. I didn't leave with it. I was too cheap to buy it back. Anyway, I didn't have the money, or I would have bought it. So anyway, also during that time when I was doing that guest spot, Luz Cabarrus died. He had overdosed in Miami.
Yep.
And I could not leave. I couldn't leave. I was committed to staying there. I was covering for Lynn and Ernie. And Scott had left and gone to New York looking for his new job. Okay. So there was like 2 people left there. I had to stay. And his dogs, Ernie's dog. I couldn't fucking leave. And I really felt terrible. Yeah. Scott Harrison had gone to New York adorned. So I forget who.
Mr. P's ice cream man, right?
He did. He did the Ice Cream Man for P, and I think he tattooed.
To see murder.
I think he did a bunch of C Murder and Silk. He did all of them. They're brothers. He did all of them, and then I ended up tattooing C Murder a little later down the road. We tattooed BG and a couple of the other guys that rap for him. We tattooed Mr. Servon, big New Orleans guy from the band True. And we tattooed a lot of rappers, yeah. So I go back home to Tampa. Lynn and Ernie are like, okay, we're ready to go. And so I flew back to New Orleans, and I had already rented an apartment there. I had an apartment on Esplanade right in the quarter.
So they essentially asked you to take it over.
Yeah, they were like, you got the cash? I was like, fuck yeah, I got the fucking cash. You know, I saved my money.
Esplanade and what? Like, between where?
It was 727 Esplanade. So
I lived in the Marigny still.
Okay.
It was at where the Esplanade Mini Mart is now.
Okay, so I was on the riverside down.
Oh
yeah.
You're in a nice
I was, if you walked out and went to the left, you'd be at Chartis Street. So I was between Royal and Chartis.
Okay, so you were right there.
Yeah.
Right in the heart of the
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, it was a cheap little $400 apartment. It was yeah, it was cheap. It had a huge balcony, and I would sit on the balcony and watch the rats in the trees, and it was fucking wild. And then commute uptown, drive uptown and work and stuff. And so when I started that shop, they left. They had two of the biggest U-Hauls or Ryder trucks or whatever they were that you could get, the big cube trucks.
Yeah.
They had the biggest ones you could get, and they had two of them. They crammed them full. I mean, crammed everything, and they still had half a truckload of shit left. So they had to get a third truck. They filled it full. They finally left. I think it took them a week to drive to Seattle. Kept in touch with them, and they finally made it. They had a shop and a house ready there. And meanwhile, we were left.
What was the shop that he opened there?
That was called Lucky Devil.
Lucky Devil.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think it was on. I'm not sure where the first one was. He had one in what they called the ghetto. I don't know what part of town it was, but it wasn't not like no ghetto I ever seen. It was nice. Like there were no junky cars, nobody standing on the corner, nobody playing dice anywhere, no liquor stores. Like I didn't see shit. I saw fucking Walgreens that you couldn't park at, and a security guard. Like I was like, this place is nice. It was cool. And Lynn opened a shop up on the hill. She wanted to be in town. She was a town girl. She was like a downtown girl.
Yeah.
She wanted to be out there. She wanted to be where the action was. So she opened her big shop out there. And meanwhile, when they left nothing, like almost nothing in the shop, like a few filing cabinets. So we remodeled. We put some nice cabinets in and some decent countertops and filled it up as much as we could. I had a banner. I had some stuff for the walls, and it was a little sparse, but we made it work. And the time I didn't have anybody to hire. I was like, fuck, who am I going to work? I knew if nothing else, I could grab somebody from Blue Devil and go work,
Yeah.
And I had on Blue Devil at the time.
I did own Blue Devil, and I was commuting. It was 650 miles.
Wow.
So also, I bought a Corvette, and I think it was like it was kind of new, but not brand new. It was a couple years old. What year? Maybe a 94, 95, something like that.
It was still kind of new.
It was kind of a couple years old.
Yeah.
It had the Greenwood kit on it, like the lowering kit, and the Greenwood, the fin on the back, and the scoop on the front. And I thought I was the shit. It was dark black cherry.
That's awesome.
It was beautiful. I had the T-tops. I put an equalizer and a booster and all the fucking giant speakers in it. I don't know. I just said, load it up, man. Fucking bling it out, Yeah. And I had the tag on the front. And
paid $30,000 for everything.
The car was like $5,000.
Yeah, like what the fuck?
Or less.
That'd be fucking $200,000 nowadays.
But ever since I was a little girl, so I had this orthodontist when I was in 6th grade. I wore braces, and my orthodontist had an orange Corvette. And I always thought, if I ever have the money, I want to buy a Corvette. So I finally had a chance to buy one, and I wanted a tag that said Corvette Annette.
Annette. start calling
So
you
sweet.
that.
Like airbrush?
No, I got like a nice one with nice letters on it, and it didn't have a place for the tag. I had to go to the dealer and be like, I want a front tag on it because they don't come like that.
Yeah,
they come with the nose
You
covered.
didn't need a front tag.
Right, like in Virginia, they might come like that because you have to have two
In
tags.
Florida, you can have a novelty front tag.
But you have to go
But it
to
doesn't come with
Yeah,
it.
you gotta add.
you got. So I didn't know mechanic down there.
Add the bracket to Rachel's car.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So I went to the dealer. It cost like $500 fucking dollars to put that goddamn tag on it. I had to have it anyway. I commuted with that car and I drove back and forth from fucking Tampa to New Orleans for 2 years.
Wow.
It was awesome. I did
How
3 weeks
long
at a
of a
time.
drive is that? Because I know from Tampa to Jacksonville, when I would take it on the megabus. But even just driving it even would be only about, it would be like 9 hours.
I think it's a little,
Maybe 10.
yeah, maybe 9 or 10.
It would vary. It would be 10 hours maybe. If I left in the middle of the night, sometimes I'd sleep in the day and maybe, drink a little Red Bull or whatever, and I'd leave at 10 at night, 11 at night. I could get there in 8 hours. 650 miles.
Especially with the Corvette.
In the vet, and it was black, so dark, and I think I had a radar detector.
Oh, yeah.
I did get a couple tickets in it. Every now and then I would get tickets.
Well,
I bet.
If you drive a Corvette, you can afford it.
I don't fucking care. Because
tickets back then were still cheaper.
well, here's the thing. In Louisiana, you can get all the tickets you want. They don't have a point system.
Oh, wow.
That's
You can get 1,000 tickets and never lose your license. It's
We'll edit that out for
genius.
Louisianans.
No, I don't even know. People, if you go, and they have the most lenient DWI laws ever.
Oh,
So-
yeah, because there was so much drinking in New Orleans that they had to be a little lax about it. You could drink in the cars, right?
In the car, I got a CDL license to drive a school bus. And one of the tests, one of the questions on the test, and it wasn't in the booklet, so I guessed, what is the legal limit for a bus driver? 0.0, 0.02, 0.04, 0.06. Everyone knows 0.08 is drunk in almost every state. So I was like, well, 0.0, you can't drink and drive a fucking school bus.
No. You can have a couple shots if you want to.
You can be a .02 in Louisiana and drive a fucking school bus
Full of
with
kids.
or without kids. Now, I didn't drive kids. I drove
With
tubers.
0.2. Without kids, 0.6.
Maybe some of those bus drivers are partying all night. Just starting their
Yeah, as long as everyone's over 18, you can drive a little more
take
drunk.
a little nap at 9 o'clock.
It's true. I mean, you never know. I think it's insane that you can do that.
Well, yeah. But there, I mean, everyone's drunk all the time, so they gotta, at least go a little softer on them.
That's
know?
right. So,
They should tighten it up so they can put more money into the roads.
oh God, the roads are terrible, huh?
So bad.
So anyway, how we get there, I don't know.
You're commuting.
So,
Oh yeah,
you're commuting.
So I'm commuting, and
You said for 2 years?
yeah, for 2 years I did that, and it was
That's
going. It was all
at
right.
this point.
Yeah, it was 98, and I decided I'd had enough, and I was pretty much sick of Tampa, and I wanted to sell that shop, and it was a high dollar shop. I mean,
And you had it at that point for 4 years.
I think so. Yeah, it was 4 years.
Because you left Jackie's in 94. You said.
That's right, and it was making good money. In Ybor City, the city it had
Popping.
was killing it at that time, man. Oh, I
I
can't
used to
even.
go there a lot in the early
Yeah.
2000s, like
Yep.
2004, 2006. And it would be,
I played some shows in Ybor City
yeah, it
before.
would be busy.
Yeah, the Masquerade was real
Yeah,
big,
yeah,
and
that's exactly
a
what we
couple
were.
other venues and stuff like that. We would do on a Friday or Saturday night 40 piercings.
Wow.
Wow.
Like I
See why
could,
people were pierced.
I had 7 or 8 tattooers. I can't remember everybody that ever worked there, but I remember Seth Safari worked there at Blue Devil.
Wow.
Mike Wilson, when he was a young tattooer, would come from Jacksonville and Orlando and would work there.
Didn't Chad
Chad.
still work there?
Chad Chesko left the biker shop he was at in Orlando and came there and was there for a little bit. And
I never realized he was a Florida boy.
he was. He's straight up Florida guy. Yeah.
Until we were talking about it the other day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I learned that you had known Chad for that long.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize that.
Shout out Chad Chesco.
Shout out.
Yeah, he's amazing, huh?
Yes.
And Mike Wilson. Mike did a bunch of.
Yep.
He did this tattoo. He did a bunch. He did like so many tattoos on all of us back then.
Yep.
You know, we were all kind of learning on each other and experimenting, and kind of new school was kind of starting to come in a little bit, and people were drawing kind of wonky and weird style, and we hadn't really.
Frank Lee style.
Yeah, kind of like that. And who else was doing that?
I was actually looking at Frank Lee Flash just last night for the sheet that I'm doing.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to have to try to revisit some of that.
There's a couple other Florida styles that were famous at the time. Do you remember Todd and Bach and David Bolt? Do you remember those guys and that Flash?
Yeah.
So they were good designs. The customers loved those designs. They were real tight designs. But those were. That's a Florida style, you know. And then Crow came along, J.D. Crow.
Yeah.
All of Lou's shops had that. Of course, we had all that too. So, but then I started getting into like Dave Waugh and Little Vinny, that kind of Flash, and that kind of stuff was getting a little more sophisticated. It was really
more
good.
Technical.
Yes.
Fancy.
Yeah. And then Paco Excel and those guys in California. Influence was really kind of getting us at that time too.
Yeah.
So, and John
sort of street, sort of Chicano, stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And okay, so I'm thinking about moving to New Orleans, and how am I going to run this shop, right? And so,
and real quick, who has the Chalmette shop at this point?
So Ernie had sold it to a guy named Ryan and his wife Cherie,
and that's when they moved uptown to New Orleans and opened that shop, and then you said they had it 10 months, and that's when they...
Well, they had sold them both at the same time.
Oh,
so Ernie was in Chalmette, and Lynn was uptown.
Okay.
And then Ernie would close Chalmette early, because it was kind of dead down there. Okay. And he would come up and work with Lynn at night, or the boys would work the night shift or something. I'm not positive exactly how they did it.
So they had both locations. So they were just getting out of town, selling.
They were selling everything. They were done, and I think they had a little mini yard sale and sold a bunch. I think Ernie sold his car. And, I'm not sure if he did or not.
First on the list to get that other shop.
Well, maybe they might have asked somebody else, but nobody had cash. Nobody had the cash they wanted. Blue Devil did good, and I had learned from the time I was 6 years old to save your fucking money, because you never know.
How much you paid for it?
I'm not going to say now, but if somebody asked me in person, I would tell them, and I'll tell you guys. Yeah. But I don't like to talk about money. It's kind of vulgar to talk about money, and people.
It was you worked hard and you built that shop from nothing.
Yeah, and
so it's like you deserve every penny you ever earned from it.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of help, and a lot. I had help with Amber. Amber was wonderful. Let's see who else. Andrew Snowden was there, and was a great friend and helper. I had a girl, Shelly, that was there for a while. Jason Klein was there, and he was a wonderful help in addition. And there was a guy named Skip.
Shout out Jason Klein.
Yeah, Klein. And a guy named Skip who owns Blue Devil now. And then there was a guy named John. I can't think of his name right now. He died, unfortunately. And a couple other, Randy Miller, and I think he still tattoos somewhere around Tampa. Randy Miller was there, and he was, I had a nice core group of kids that were there, and really good, trustworthy people that are mostly still tattooing, I think. So when
you're commuting at this point.
Yeah, so I didn't sell that shop yet. So I went in and started building up Electric LadyLand. But I had to find somebody to work with me. So I had worked with this guy, Ed Derringer, at Jackie's, and I knew that he had been around, and he was managing a shop in Texas. And so I called him, and we talked a lot about business and this and that all the time. And I asked him for I said, do you know anybody that's willing to come help me run this place? And when I'm gone, kind of be the manager. I don't really need a boss, but I need a manager. And do you know anybody that might be available to do that? And he was co-managing a place with this dumb ass called Deborah Valentine. And she had worked for me in Tampa. And he said, she's here. And I said, I don't fucking want her. Do you know? I'll take a monkey over her. Do you know anybody? And she did have a friend named Madeline. And Madeline was from San Francisco. And I'm not sure where Madeline was working then. She might have been in Texas with them and hated Texas. She's a San Francisco girl. She was very liberal, open-minded person. Living in Texas might not go over too well. So I agreed to hire her sight unseen. Her work was good. And so she came and she got an apartment in New Orleans. And so she would work. And when I would go home, we just needed somebody that would sit with her and work, like a man that would be there. Because she could tattoo. There wasn't enough flow to need more than one or two people. Most people would wait to get tattooed, so they had a waiting area.
They weren't getting big tattoos like they are now. They were getting
small, yes. And a lot of names. There were times we would do 10 names a day at $30 each. You're not making bank, but you're not doing a lot of work either. You're doing a fucking name. It's fun. It's easy. Meeting interesting people. So I think one of the first people we hired was this guy called Demian. And he was friends with Ernie and Lynn. And I think, I'm not positive, I'm going to have him, he's actually going to come in from Atlanta, where he lives now, and talk with us about the time.
His portion in.
Yes, well, we'll do a second series with him in there. And he was hanging around.
Line cook or
he was. Yeah, he was a line cook and a barback, I think, at Coop's maybe. And
was he just like coming into the shop? He knew them?
So he knew them, and I don't think he was working for them, but he knew them.
Okay.
And he was super interested in it. And here's the thing. I didn't know that I knew Demian when Demian was 15 or 16. He came into Jackie's and got tattooed.
So
by me.
That's the story that I heard.
I didn't realize it was the same guy.
No, wow.
I didn't know.
Okay.
So he was friends with Henry that worked there. He was Henry's age, 16, 17. And he came and said, Demian wants a tattoo at Jackie's.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want Jackie getting mad at me. And he goes, Demian's parents are cool. Like, it's not a problem. He's a fucking street. Yeah. He's a street kid. Like, he's on his own. And, he's got a job and all this. His parents are cool. So I tattooed him. And then he'll tell you the story about that because that's pretty funny too.
That's what I was going to say is I think he did tell us that story before. So that's,
I'd love a refresher.
Oh, yeah. When he comes down, we'll definitely.
He's going to have to tell you because I forgot.
Yeah.
It was funny though. So he had expressed some delight in wanting to come hang out in the shop. So I said, come on. So he would come and sit with Madeline. I would run home for a couple of weeks, handle business there. Luckily, I had Amber, who was handling a lot of stuff for me. And so I would come back.
What was he doing? Was he like floor guying? Was he
who was
manager
that?
stuff?
Demian. No, he was floor guy.
Floor guy. Okay.
So he didn't know that much about tattoos. So he was basically sitting there with her.
Yeah.
Being security at first.
Okay.
And learning. People would come in and talk. There was a big counter. So Madeline would be there and she could hear the questions and he would answer good and as good as he could. And then
counter that hid the infamous shotgun.
No, that's the newest counter.
Okay.
But I think there were guns behind that counter and a TV and all kinds. It was it was like a little stash area. I saved that counter though when I left. We remodeled and I have that whole countertop still. It's like 17 or 20 feet long or something like that.
Wow.
It's hanging in my garage. So It's all hand painted by Ernie. It's cool. It's fucking
awesome.
cool. I'll put a picture of that up if I can find it. And so he would answer questions, and then so he kept learning, and then I was like, dude, you're kind of good at this. You're getting really good at it. And he was hanging out every minute he could. When he would leave the last minute, he would schedule everything around being at the shop. And I was like, dude, do you want to do this or something? He was like, yeah. At the time I was a little guarded, but we really needed somebody. And I was like, it wasn't like now where there's 1,000 tattooers, you know, and especially in New Orleans, you know, there wasn't that many, and there wasn't social media, so there wasn't a big way to get the word out that you needed somebody, except calling your friends. You know, that's how you got people back then. So I had called everybody. Nobody knew anybody at the time. So I did have people come and help and sit in with me, you know, and help and stuff, but I needed somebody there all the time. Demian said yes, he wanted to learn, so we were like, okay, we'll teach you. So he really got a kind of thrown in with the Sharks, and everybody that worked there kind of trained him. And then
who all worked there at this point early on?
So
probably 99, maybe 2000.
98.
So
this is like
it's still 98.
I think so. Yeah.
Kind of last bit of blue.
When I first opened that place, really is when it was. Was that 96 then?
Yeah, you said 96. You opened it, so he was in there in 96.
96 or 7.
Okay.
He was
so
definitely
that was
in.
Okay, so that was the very beginning. So
yeah.
Who was working there in 96, 97?
So just me and Madeline for a while. And then I think we hired Mark the Shark, who was from Jacksonville. Yeah. He worked for Robbie West. And Robbie called me and said, hey, I got this kid. He's like a lump of coal. He's talented. He can draw. He just needs to be polished up. He said, Annette, I know you can polish him. And that's kind of what I was kind of good at. Like I could really...
I know it.
I know. I could really polish you into a diamond, you know, and help you. And some people say I'm maybe not the best tattooer ever, but I'm a great teacher. I can show you what the fuck to do.
Those who can't teach.
Is that what you told me?
But I can tattoo.
Yes, that's the difference.
And I know what looks good.
Yeah.
And some people would argue, but they have their opinions and they can shove them up their ass.
I think you can't tattoo, so you stay good.
Yeah.
I could always be better, right? Who couldn't? Except Mike. I mean, can Mike get any better? Fuck.
Those guys I mean, they're getting better still all the time.
Anyway.
Tat maxing.
Tat maxing.
Dude, Mike Wilson definitely tat maxes 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, Demian
is there. And he's picking it up like crazy. And he's doing good. He's helping out. And we have this guy, Stan the Stunner. And he would come into the shop with a fucking shoebox full of weed. He'd have 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s, 100s. He'd open that box and just like, okay. So he got a bunch of tattoos. Demian did his back. He practiced all kinds of shit on him. And there was this other guy, Buckethead, who got a bunch of tattoos too from Demian. Shout out Buckethead. I hope you're still alive. Stunner, I know you're out there. I saw him in a Myrtle Beach Black Bike Week video.
That's awesome.
Just like last week.
Wow.
Steve and I watch those sometimes.
That's
and
awesome.
He was in it talking about it and stuff.
Wow.
He's awesome. He was like my brother from another mother, you know, he used to say. I loved him. Stan, shout out. Anyway,
that's awesome.
So Demian got good enough, and Madeline did not like New Orleans. Okay, so it's me and her mostly tattooing in between our guests. And she came in one day and she complained, I went to the doctor's office today and they were playing that fucking soul funky music in there again. I'm so fucking sick of that shit.
What a loser.
She just didn't, she's from San Francisco where they play white people music. And that's what she wanted to hear.
You just call it flavorless music.
Yeah.
Like,
a little salt and pepper.
That's what I thought. I love the stations out there. Like,
yeah.
We played that exclusively in the shop, you know.
Yeah.
She didn't like it. She couldn't take it anymore. And she didn't like the customers. She called them, they. Not like they do now, the good way.
in the terrible racist.
She was like them over there, you know, and she really didn't get the culture. She did not like Jabron jeans that were in Timberlands that were in at the time. She was not into Cash Money or Master P and the Tank.
That was the height of New Orleans in the 90s.
I agree.
That was not that New Orleans doesn't have so much culture outside of that or previous to that. There's a lot of culture there as far as music is concerned.
So much history.
However, that is, I mean, if you're in uptown New Orleans in the 90s, from what I understand,
a lot of hits.
You lived it. I was just watching it on TV.
Yeah, I was there. Dude, those dudes were coming in the shop. Stunning. You know what I mean?
So, like, if that's your customer base, then, and you don't like it, then of course you got to.
You're not happy.
Yeah,
you're not happy.
You can't be miserable.
So I don't know where she went, but she left. I'm not sure if she gave me. I think she gave me some time.
99.
Probably by then, yeah.
Were you there permanently, or were you still traveling at this point?
No, this was probably 97, 98.
Okay, so you were still going back.
I was still going back and forth, and finally, I had enough.
You're like, I need to just be in New York.
So Amber had a new boyfriend named Mike Zito. And he was kind of steering her away from me. You know how some guys like to drive a wedge?
I mean, not my life.
You've seen girls that have had their boyfriend drive a wedge and try to get their girlfriend away. So he tried to, you know, kind of get her away, and she made a lot of money, and he made nothing. Okay, and she was a sweetheart. She was an angel with the most beautiful eyes and smile, light up the fucking room. I love this girl. And he convinced her that they could do better on their own. And they decided they were going to open their own shop up in North Tampa. Okay. So they took Skip, one of the guys,
close to you.
Not close, up on a part of town where we used to laugh and make fun of.
It wasn't like an animosity split like some other splits.
No, it totally was.
Oh, okay.
It was totally like a surprise to me. Okay. Like, they had never like talked to me or said I was doing anything wrong or that they didn't like. And apparently I was doing stuff wrong, but they didn't think we were good enough friends to talk to me about it. Good friends talk. Like, think about this. If you have a battery and the battery goes dim,
you gotta change the battery.
What you're gonna look at it, you're gonna like, oh, it needs some help, you're gonna take the battery out, you're gonna put a new battery in, you're gonna start over, you're gonna correct the problem instead of doing something backhanded or very shady and very hurtful to somebody that helped you a lot.
So,
you know,
outside of the disappointment and hurt, we'll bring it back a little.
Deep hurt and
pain. A little light on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so they split off, and at that point you said, I'm going to also sell my shop?
I said, I'm tired of it. I'm going to sell Blue Devil.
They took Skip, but he owned Blue Devil now.
He bought it back from the guy I sold it to.
Okay, so who did you sell it to?
I sold it to a guy named Adam from Orlando who was friends with Chad Chesko. Okay. And a guy named Lance McLean, who was a tattooer from Orlando, Devotion Tattoo, he ran. And they introduced me to Adam, and I sold to Adam. Adam ran that shop great. He was he did everything he could to keep that shop going good. He brought in great people. He had good, loyal people that worked for him. He kept it up. He spent money on the place.
How long did he have it?
Probably close to 20 years. And he was in the new location, and then he moved it across the street. Something happened to his lease or something. He moved across the street. And then when he sold it, Skip had it, and then he moved back to 1601, I think was the address there, 1601 on 7th Avenue in Ybor. Now, when I first came to Ybor, there was one shop there, and it was called Leather Tiger.
That's a great one.
And it was down at the very end. At the time, it was kind of dead down that way, down towards the water. And it was kind of a little S&M piercing shop, and they had like weird, weird little stuff. But they had a guy working in the back named Ben Matthews that was a decent tattooer, but you didn't really go down there. The guy was kind of shady, kind of a weirdo, and he closed and left. And then a couple other shops another shop opened, and by the time I left, Ybor had gotten really popular. And they had shops. They had somebody install it was the weirdest thing. It looked like a shower, like one of those modular showers with the sliding doors. And they had it on the sidewalk with a stool and somebody inside tattooing.
Oh my God.
And outside of the business.
Out on the street, in a parking lot, like on the sidewalk of a parking lot.
Whoa.
It was just a fucking carnival. And I was going back and forth, and I was like, I've fucking had it. I'm done with this is fucking dumb. So I got a lot of money for that shop because it made a lot of money, you know, and I took good care of the people. When I left, Doug Love worked there, and his wife, I wish I could remember her name. I'm so sorry I can't remember it because she was the sweetest girl. I'll remember it later, but them, and I think Andrew was there. You know who else was there? Jason Monaro worked there.
Oh, wow.
You remember him?
Yeah.
So he worked there, and I made sure they were all taken care of in case I didn't know what the new owner was going to be like. I wanted my people to be taken care of, you know. I was worried about everything. And everything worked out great for everybody. Everybody got Doug Love and his wife are out in Santa Cruz. I think they have a shop called, I think it's Staircase Tattoo. Randy Miller was with me. He's got a shop up in North Tampa somewhere. And Amber and her husband, he went to prison where he needs to be, and she and I are friends again. And
say that didn't work out.
That didn't work out. She should have, Amber. You should have stayed with me, baby. You should have stayed with me. But you know that's the way it goes. How long has this been going?
We're at 57 minutes and 41 seconds.
Should we stop and then do part 2?
We can always keep going. You can edit it into a part 2 if you want.
Let's just say this is part 2.
Or part 1, and then we'll
go. Oh yeah, sorry. I guess I have to end it there. Right. Let's say this is the end of part 1, and we'll start part 2 next.
Where are we as far as the end of part 1?
Fuck, don't ask me. I don't know.
Are we in 98 still? Or where are we?
We are in where, so
yeah.
Let's just have a nice little ending to where we have.
So
Demian's there.
Had joined. Madeline had quit.
And you were done with Tampa. So now you're permanently in New Orleans, and this is 98.
I would say 97, 98. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say 98. And you're permanently in New Orleans.
And the staff was Mark DeSharp, Ben Matthews, I got from Tampa, and this guy named Milford Barnes, who was also from the Clearwater, Tampa area. So I had a bunch of Florida boys again with me. And John Himmelstein came out for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. I like the Florida guys.
Yep.
Somehow I end up with them.
We're one of a kind.
Cool. So
okay.
Permanently in New Orleans.
So we're going to go take a break, use the bathroom, take some take some drinks. And we'll meet back here in a few minutes.
Sponsored by Hint Water. Just a hint of water.
Don't
just a hint of flavor in your water.
Goodbye.